special guests that I'd like to introduce to you right now. First of all, we have with us Trustee Martha McNicholas, Trustee of the Capistrano Unified School District. Councilmember Kelly Jennings. City Manager Tammy Letourneau. And you were greeted as you entered City Hall tonight by members of the Laguna Niguel Women's Club. So ladies, stand up and take a bow. Okay, so this program will be in two parts. First, we will hear from our counselors at the school district about social media and how it's used, what our children's exposure is. And then we will hear from our law enforcement on what to do if you think there's been an issue or a child has been contacted. So to introduce our speakers, Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you all are here. I have the pleasure of introducing our two speakers. Lori Avakian has been a counselor at Niguel Hills Middle School for the last 20 years. Her background in mental health, art, and literature with degrees from Pepperdine University with an MA in clinical psychology and Brown University with a BA in art and modern culture and media. Before she became school counselor, she had a small private practice and taught law and ethics for marriage and family therapists at the Pepperdine Graduate School of Psychology. To quote Lori, school counseling has been the most gratifying work I have done. Thank you for being here. And we also have Michelle Zeiss, a counselor at Dana Hills High School. She graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with a degree in animal science. Michelle earned her teaching credential in biological science from Cal State San Bernardino, and ultimately her master's degree and PPS credential in school counseling from Azusa Pacific University. Prior to becoming a school counselor, Michelle taught biology and at the high school level and is proud to have been in education for over 20 years. Please welcome me to me.
Good evening. First, my name again is Michelle Zeiss, and I want to thank you for coming tonight on this very sensitive but important topic. So what we'd like to do from the school district standpoint is kind of talk about how our kids are targeted, what to look out for, and what we're going to end with today is some resources for you at home on how to be able to monitor those things. Oh, do I have to use it, or do I need to be louder? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm so not a microphone person, but we will do that. That's the teacher voice, right? I'm used to not having a microphone. But as I mentioned, we are going to talk about how traffickers do target victims and what we at the school district are doing to help kind of assist and monitor that, and what resources that we have for you and what we do at the school to ensure the safety of our children. So first, what we're looking at is how do traffickers target our kids, and they are very wise. And now with our technology, we know that our students are on social media through their computers, through their phones, and this is what traffickers are using to get into our students' lives. This is a privacy thing, right? So our students, we know, don't necessarily want to share their passwords and their information with their parents or their families, but traffickers know the way to get in there and be able to get friended by them, to be on their TikToks or on their Instagrams and those kind of things. And so social media is a gateway for these traffickers to be able to get into our students' lives. And they will look for certain things, and I'll look at that at the next slide, but they'll look for certain aspects of what students are posting, and they'll kind of catch on to that. So if a student's mentioning that they had just broken up with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, or they're feeling lonely, or those kind of things, then they'll, tweet or Instagram them like, oh, you sound so pretty, you seem so nice, and I'm so sorry somebody did that to you. And then they can reach out and use these compliments and those kind of things, and then the student, of course, feels welcomed, and they feel adored, and they feel taken care of and respected, and then those traffickers have gotten into their lives. They gain their trust that way, spending their time, because it takes seconds to text back and forth through these social media forums, and so that's how they kind of develop the trust. They can say they are whoever they want to be, And the students, of course, are going to take that at face value, unfortunately, and that's how they can get into there. And they're meeting those needs that may not be meeting elsewhere, whether, especially coming out of this pandemic, as we know, they're very socially isolated. They don't have their social groups as they've had before in the past, and so they are craving attention in those ways, and this is another way that those traffickers know that they can become a part of those students' lives. And so, again, they're going to monitor or look for is what are students posting. And depending on what kinds of things they're seeing on their posts, then they kind of know what things that they can say and back to get into their lives. So whether they're feeling isolated or lonely or fear or emptiness or disappointment, then they're going to reach out and text them or IM them or Instagram them or FaceTime them or those kind of things, meeting that need specifically. And we call it, I'm sure law enforcement will get more into that, but there's different types of traffickers we call it. There's like a Romeo trafficker, where they're going to use like, oh, I can help you, and if you need money, I would have you do that, you're so pretty, and they can get into those things that are, of course, for our students, like, wow, I'm being so treated so well, and this person wants to spend money on me, this person wants to take care of me, and at the end, of course, we know that that's not the case. They'll also look for other indicators of the students posting things about using drugs or alcohol, if they're talking about running away from home, any of those kinds of inclinations, again, that's something that a trafficker can use to get into that student's life and be able to gain that trust, get them hopefully to meet with them eventually, and then now they're in that unfortunate situation. So what we thought might be a really good way to kind of see is what's really happening with our students. We work with them every day. And so we actually did some surveys with our students anonymously, so they would hopefully answer, transparently with us. And these are just some of the statistics. And this is our community. These are our kids. So 14% of our students have said they've been a victim of what we call catfishing. And for those of you who may not know, that's where, again, they've reached out or someone claims to be maybe a 16-year-old boy, but they're actually a 50-year-old adult male, and those kind of things. And so 14% said they know that they were catfished and that the person that they were talking to actually lied about who they really were. 21%, or about a fifth of our students, have met up with somebody that they met online. Actually went through with having this connection or having this communication back and forth, and then met up with that person. And over half, 56% of our students told us that someone they don't know, and anybody know what IRL stands for? You know what it means? In real life, yes. So get you some of those acronyms too, that was good. But 56% of our students told us that someone they don't know in real life had commented on their posts. And that's what we're talking about, that these people they don't know, they get friended by them, or they answer their posts, they respond to their posts, and they, in the hopes of having that connection with them, continuing it, getting some rapport, getting some trust, and then having the opportunity to meet with them. So what did some of those comments, what kinds of things are they reaching out with? Some of these are pretty graphic and alarming, so I apologize for that, but we wanted to be real. These are what our kids told us. That's some of the things that have actually been messaged to them. So talking about, again, modeling. You look so pretty. I have connections in the modeling industry. If you meet with me, I can get you a contract. Talking about just weird stuff. The third one, of course, pictures of body parts. They've actually had pictures sent to them. And then people requesting money for pictures, nudity, and those kind of things. So these, again, are real things. These are things that have happened to our kids in our area. And luckily, for some of these students, obviously, that's something that causes them to have alarm, and then they know not to, block those people and so forth. But unfortunately, what we know is that some of our students, the attention is what they're craving, and they will respond. And then lastly, just a couple of things, because as hopefully, maybe you don't know as well, but our phones do have GPS locators on them, and you actually have to take an active role in turning that off. They're always automatically on. And so 35% of our students, over a third, said they didn't know about that. They didn't know that they were locating. So when they are DMing or when they are Instagramming, somebody can find out exactly where they are in that moment. So if they're at home, now they've got their home address. If they're at school or wherever they might be. And then about a quarter of our students, 24%, said they just had never even thought about that, right? They're just on their phone and they're thinking they're safe. They're thinking they're in their own home or with their friend's house, and somebody could be tracking them. So what kind of things are we doing in our schools? What is Capo District doing to help protect our children? We now are what we call a comprehensive high school counseling program in all of our schools in our district, which means that we are looking at the whole child, which I think is an extremely valuable thing. So our students aren't just coming to us for academics, but they're coming to us obviously with college and career needs, but they are also coming to us for their social emotional needs. And this is a really key point because we know, of course, if a student is struggling social emotionally, it's probably related to their grades. Or if their grades are struggling, it's probably related to some social emotional, or it could be dealing with relationships or other kinds of things. And so one thing that we're doing in our districts is that when students come to see us, we are looking at the whole child, not just individual pieces. We're not just focused on graduating. That's a part. We're not just focused on meeting their post-secondary, goals. That's a part. But we also, of course, are looking at behind those things and how is the student doing all around, social, emotionally, physically, mentally as well. So we have what's called an MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support in our district. Tier 1, and I'm going to go through each tier later in some slides, but Tier 1 is we're focusing on, that's what we do for all of our students. That's like general education assemblies that we might have in relation to drugs, in relation to suicide prevention, in relation to social media. So those are kind of like presentations or when we go into the classrooms and provide presentations, and that's for all of our students. Then as we go up the pyramid, of course, we're looking at students who might need more or further interventions, what we call more getting at risk. As you'll notice that, of course, we're always involving the families on every part of this tier. And we're also talking about collaboration possibly with other agencies, and we'll talk about that as well. So what does that actually look like? So as I said, Tier 1 are the things that we're doing for all students. In our social emotional range, we do provide presentations at every grade level on different topics, like I said, such as suicide prevention, stress management and relation, drug prevention, with fentanyl being unfortunately a huge situation right now, especially in our area and all of California for that matter. But we've had some presentations in related to drug prevention. And then, of course, any social emotional learning that we do. We do SEL lessons at every grade level, K through 12. And those are all on our district, so you can see what's being presented. That's on our district webpage. And as I mentioned, we also, of course, cover the academic domains as well. Meeting with all of our students at least twice a year with academic planning, at the high school level, 4-year planning, and those kind of things. And when we have all those touches, again, although we're looking at one maybe specific domain, we are touching the whole kid in regards to checking on all of those things. So as I'm academic planning with a student, I am talking about their college and career as well. If they're getting good grades and their goal is to go to a 4-year college, we're talking about that. But if I see that they're struggling in math, then I'm also going to go into that social emotional piece. What's wrong with, is there something going on with that teacher? Is there something going on at home? Is math just a struggle point for you? Can we look at tutoring? So again, we're talking about that whole piece. And so we do that. That's what we call our Tier 1 planning. As we look at Tier 2 and 3, we do know that there are some vulnerable groups that we kind of do need to pay more attention to. Students like foster youth, our homeless, our low socioeconomic disadvantaged students, and people who have dropped out, obviously, we're going to try to reach back in for those students, our LGBTQ community. So we know that some of our populations are a little bit more vulnerable, especially in talking with social media and possibly needing some more, some more relationships in order to make sure that they are not being targeted. Thank you. I left mine over there. And so when we look at Tier 2 and 3, as I said, these are fewer students, but where we can be more intensive in our interventions. And so this is where we do start working with other agencies. We do have school resource officers on our campus, so if it's coming to something where we are suspecting abuse,
or trafficking or anything of that nature, then we can loop in our school resource officers. We do have bilingual liaisons to also help with our ELD populations. And of course, our school counselors, as I mentioned. We will do reentry meetings for students who have been out due to hospitalization, who have been out in the juvenile system. So we will have reentry meetings so that they know our face, and we're a little bit more intensive in how we let them adjust back to the high school or school community in general. We work with social workers and the Orange County Department of Education with our foster youth. And of course, we then have very strict protocols within the district that have been laid out for when we are suspecting abuse, suicide prevention, any kind of abuse, criminal activity, certainly trafficking, and those kind of things. We also have plenty of resources that we want to share within our district, and so I'm going to invite Mrs. Avakian to come up, and she'll be sharing some resources with you.
Hi, everyone. I really meant it when I said that school counseling has been the most gratifying career I've ever had. And being at Niguel Hills for over 20 years now, I've seen a great change in the school, and not necessarily the community, but the school itself. Not only has Niguel Hills population declined almost by half since I started there. Our low socioeconomic population of students has really dramatically climbed. 30% of our students qualify for free lunch and a lot of other things. We call them our McKinney-Vento students, if they're also homeless as well. Lots of students in our community, you may not know, are doubled up. Families are all doubled up. One family may be in a bedroom, and another family may be occupying the living room in another bedroom. They share the kitchen, but everybody goes to school, comes to our school, where they mingle with everybody else. So when we talk about vulnerable populations, I want you to know, like, it's here. And even though you may not see those vulnerable children, you may not realize how vulnerable they are here in our community. And just one last factoid that was staggering to me this fall. We send out a needs assessment survey to our parents, our students, and our teachers every fall with pretty much the same questions and listing their concerns. Our students responded. Their top concern was staying motivated at school, and after the pandemic year and online schooling, totally, we were expecting that. The second thing that students were most concerned about was food and basic needs. 46% of our students responded that they were concerned about having their basic needs met. And then, just to lead into social media, the third most interested concern was being social and staying connected and being with friends. So that vulnerability is there. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what our school district can do and does do, and then just some social media tips for parents, because this is new stuff. Certainly Michelle and I didn't grow up with phones or social media. In fact, even 20 years ago, there was no such thing. So it's super new, and we don't know what we're doing. And we're trying to really reel it back in because technology has gotten a little out of control. So this is an incredible resource. Can I move the mouse? I want to be able to click through the links so that you can actually see the links, and it's not just me pointing to this. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So this is our school family resource center. We have, can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, so that we can see the page. Thank you. So we actually have at our school district office a huge library of resources, but we also have lots of digital resources for parents as well on the right-hand side. And there's social media and internet safety. There's usually someone who is there who will help you around, but if you want to make an appointment to really browse the library, you can also do that as well. So we have lots of interesting resources for parents there. And is this our site, this one? Okay. So here's some of the stuff that if you click on social media that you can have for yourself, for your family and friends. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? That's how we do it. Okay, and how do I advance it?
Here, you can use this right here.
I can use that? Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. So this is, can we click on that as well? Sorry, I want to actually show you what we're looking at. That was that same thing. Okay. So I guess next slide, and it's this one?
Yep.
Okay. So we have, last year when we were closed for a school district and just doing online schooling or partial online schooling, we as school counselors really tried to reach out to the community. And what we did was a series of parent webinars. And this is the social media and internet safety presentation in full that our school counselors created. So this is a really interesting, nope, I want to go back. It's an interesting webinar. I may need your help the whole time.
Staying really
I'm
close.
sorry. So if you wanted, is this PowerPoint, is it all going to be given out to the community or made access? Will parents be able to see this if they want to refer to it later? It'll be in the video. Oh, it's in the video. Oh, okay. All right, thank you. So I will leave that to you to scroll through that, but there's lots of good information in there. Basically, they compiled everything that they know about what parents should do to be safe with their children. Oh, okay. It's not linked. I don't think it's linked.
I will say, and I know I'm on the microphone, but all of the webinars that we did, we just wanted to point out the social media and internet safety one, but all of the webinars are posted on our district's website. If you just go to Capital Unified School District and click on our district and go all the way to the bottom, it says resources and it says webinars right there. If you click on webinars, there's about 15 of them that we've done on a variety of topics, but the social media one is there, and you will be able to see the whole presentation.
So, social media tips for parents. I know you have a handout. And before I talk about social media tips, I want to talk about the phone. I work at a middle school, and that's typically when kids get the phone. And that's like the beginning of the end, frankly. So I just want to talk about, I was making notes in the margins. You see I've scribbled a lot because as I began to write, I realized I have a lot of feelings about students with phones. And I guess the first thing is you need to model really appropriate behavior with the phone for your kids. So, that means when we are together as a family, we have certain rules about how we use the phone or we use social media. Maybe it's not allowed at the table. We don't charge it in our bedrooms. And we don't, use it in the car, especially if we're driving, officer. So we try to model what we want our children to do. And that includes the social media, how we handle ourselves on social media, and how we just sort of navigate. So, enter? Okay. Can you read that, or is the handout the thing? I think the handout is better. So the first thing I want to say, if you're going to give your child a phone, hold off as long as possible, okay? Think about getting the child the phone when it starts to become, it's holding back their social life in some way, because honestly, this is where the kids are. This is where they are congregating. This is where they are making plans. This is where their social life is. At least it starts there. Hold off as long as possible, and when you do give the child the phone, you're really taking into consideration safety versus their social life. And sometimes as they get older, the social life is important, And they need to be able to make plans and contact each other and sort of be in the know. But safety is the overriding concern, and that's the message that you're going to send. When you give your child the phone, you're going to make some really concrete rules because their thinking is very concrete. So you have to make the rules concrete, and you should make it as strict as you possibly can, because from then on, you're just going to lose ground. So make it as strict as you can. When they really, 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 really want that phone, you say, okay, but you can only use it like once a week when, and they'll say, yes, okay, sure. And there are lots of places on the internet where you can actually find and download a contract, a cell phone contract with your child. I would do that, and I would take it very seriously. I would sit down with them, and I would make some real rules about, no. We have one of my students is in the audience. She's like, no. But I would make it as strict as possible. And good phone hygiene includes like not having it in your bedroom, not sleeping it within your bedroom. I take it in the evening. I charge it in my room. We don't have it at the table. And if I find out you are ever using this to be unkind, or if there's anything cruel, or there's anything else going on, then you're not using it appropriately, and there'll be consequences, and you need to take a break for 10 days, 2 weeks, forever, whatever. Just make the rules as strict as you can, because it's very hard as they get older, because they do need it. They do things on it, like they record music, they listen to music, they calendar their events, they start to find multiple appropriate and effective, useful ways to use it, but in the beginning, it's really just a fun device. Also, parents, I want you to know you can get an iPhone or other smartphone, but it can be a dumb phone. It doesn't have to have a web browser on it, so that they can use it to text their friends or to make plans, or if they want to download an app, you are able to sort of monitor that because you are parsing out this privilege. What else do I want to say about that? Oh, the thing that the kids don't understand is that the social media, it's addictive. The phone is addictive. The social media is addictive. You get that dopamine hit when you hear it buzz or you pick it up to look at it 100 times a day. We're all guilty of it. But they don't have that self-control to be able to put it aside when they realize, oh, this is interfering. I'm not able to sleep. I'm not able to concentrate. I'm just tethered to this thing. And my whole life has become this, honestly, I think, very superficial representation of ourselves. And my students at school, when I meet with them, whether in group or one-on-one, there's so much more depth and complexity there than you can see online or in a TikTok video or other stuff. And the thing about these social media apps that I would, as a parent, recommend is they need your permission before they download an app on the phone. And then you need to be able to have eyes on it, whether it's you or aunties watching, but try to friend your child on social media if you decide, like, yes, TikTok is okay. But also know there's many sides to TikTok. Like, some of it is super cute and fun, and some of it is inappropriate. And our children, especially at middle school, maybe about 15 or so, there's more abstract thinking going on, but many of our students have incredibly concrete thinking, and they cannot get into the mind of an old man who's trying to recruit them for something. But he's nice, he's so nice. They can't put themselves in another person's shoes that way and see sort of behind the nice comments. So again, we're gonna practice good good phone hygiene, I don't know what to call it. Hygiene is probably not a good word. You like hygiene? A good practice with the phone ourselves. And really, they're going to end up doing what we do, no matter what we say. So if we say, that's it, the phone's off, you can't give, if they see us on the phone all the time or scrolling through Instagram, And we're all guilty of it, but if they see us do it, they're going to do what we do. They're going to end up being a lot more like us than they realize. So we have to model it. So when the phone is the gateway to social media, and we need to monitor it, and we need to regulate it, and we need to put incredibly stern boundaries on it, because I think these corporations are unwilling to do what they need to do to keep kids safe. And I think our government is either unwilling or unable to reel in some of these practices, these social media apps that we're finding are actually pretty harmful for kids. So we have a lot of vulnerable youth that really need really good monitoring. So, did I miss anything? Set the ground rules. And another good tip is turn off that autoplay on YouTube or maybe TikTok too, because like the next thing that comes. And the way the algorithm works is that if they're watching like a TikTok dance and it's sort of cute, then they're going to up the ante, and the next one is going to be even sexier or even more inappropriate. So before you know it, you can be in deep territory. I would also I would let them know that you are monitoring their activity on their phone, that you are looking at their social media. And even if you forget to look at it for 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever, they know mama's dad or dad is lurking in the background and can ask to see my phone or can look on my phone at any time. There are also monitoring services. There's one called Custodio. We don't have a handout for that, but there's one called Custodio, which is like an internet blocking filter, so that you can put certain websites in the little blocking app, and it will stop your child from being able to call up YouTube, say, or whatever it is you want to block. And there are also things like Bark, which I think is a social media monitoring app, and there's one called Life 360, where you can see where that phone is going, and with your kid attached to it, no matter what. And so there are things available. This one, though, is really great. It's called Common Sense Media, and everything you need is there. It's sort of a one-stop shop, and it's incredibly comprehensive. So they will rate movies and TV, games, books, apps, what parents need to know. If there's an app that you haven't heard of, they'll know about it. They're like on it. It's incredible. And they'll tell you what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what the content is, what the risks are. And they also have, I'm fumbling again. Here we go. Interesting articles, what's appropriate for different ages. It's a really good app, a really good website. We refer to it a lot as counselors and what's appropriate. Is this the website? Nope. This one? Where's the website? Where's the PowerPoint? Aha, okay, thank you. Okay, so that is really a great one. And so I started kind of at middle school and talking about kids and their concrete thinking and how we really have to be that sort of thinking brain for them and realize what we're doing when we're handing them the phone. But this is the other end of the spectrum. This is futurology. It is a department of our counseling guidance department, and they are actually based in the Mission Viejo Mall, right off of the food court. And they help students plan their 4 years in high school, get to college. They're open from 1 in the afternoon to 9 at night. They are incredibly accessible to students and parents. They do a lot of good work in conjunction with our high school counselors. They just focus on what happens after we get out of school. Here's our team. They're really great. So I bring this up because this is part of the whole child that we're trying to take care of and educate. We also do things at school, like we do a digital literacy lesson at the beginning of every year. There's little reminders. We also have a no cell phone policy that is really difficult to enforce at school, especially this year. It wasn't so bad, but now the kids are so used to being on the phones all the time since they did so much homeschooling. Getting them out of the habit of putting the phone away and being just present in the room with the teacher, with the content of whatever's being taught, it's been really hard. And so, yeah, they're more tethered to it than ever. But this is, I lost my train of thought. So they're more tethered to it than ever, and you won't like this, but we're thinking about a no media May in May at my school, and promoting and educating the kids about just how this may not be best for your mental health, to be having this, on you all the time. It's sort of reducing you to this superficial level. You're not connecting with people in a deep way, and it's making you very vulnerable to these traffickers. Oh my gosh, So there's lots of practical tips on that handout that I probably didn't mention. We have lots to offer on the school website. And first concern, if you have a concern about a student or a parent, reach out to the school counselor. We have incredible resources, and we know people in the community, and we can be helpful at school and out of school in some ways. I guess that's about it. Okay.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Lori and Michelle. I see our school district is doing an incredible job for the whole child. And this is really important information that you've brought to us to make us aware. In your programs, where you're writing your notes, there's the yellow question card. So if you do have a question, fill that out, and we'll be collecting these later for the Q&A. So now Councilmember Jennings will introduce our next two speakers.
So I have the pleasure of introducing our next two speakers. Our chief is Captain Virgil Ascension. He has over 20 years of law enforcement experience. He's worked several assignments such as custody operations, patrol operations, Orange County Sheriff's Regional Training Academy, International Affairs Bureau, and Policy Risk Management. He's also an instructor for Santa Ana College Criminal Justice Academies. Captain Ascension has a bachelor's degree from University of California, Irvine, and is currently completing his master's degree in the University of Cincinnati. Captain Ascension was assigned to Laguna Niguel Police Services on January 1st, 2021, and we are so honored that you are here serving our wonderful community. And Investigator Dent, he's been with the Sheriff's Department for nearly 10 years. He's worked in patrol for the city of Laguna Niguel for 5 years and is currently assigned as an investigator for the city. Investigator Dent has worked in various investigations details, including major theft, violent crimes, and missing persons. Please welcome them.
Good evening. For me, with Investigator Dent, he was actually a former recruit of mine, so to see him up here to present with me is definitely fun to see for me. I got to see him grow up, so to speak, in the department. Well, I have 3 kids myself. I have a 20-year-old, 16-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And so, obviously, the phones are a way of communicating with my family because I work long hours. And so, a couple things that I do personally. I had some discussions with parents from neighborhood watch groups, from community meetings that I've attended throughout the year. And one kind of particularly kind of stuck in my mind. There was parents that were discussing their child with their phone. And they were almost like kind of frightened that they were gonna take that phone away or look through the phone. I tell them my side. I pay for that phone, so I get to see whatever I wanna see. I get to ask whenever I wanna ask, and I'll go through it or keep it, whatever it is. So I tell parents and then try to empower them. That is yours, you pay for it, right? Even my 20-year-old, I pay for his phone, guess what? I get to have it. And that's the rules in my house. You live under my roof, guess what? You live under my rules. I also have an app that I use to monitor my kid's phone. So there's an app out there, and there's different apps out there, so I'm not promoting any type of app to purchase, but I have Kids Locks with an X, Kids Locks. And pretty much it gives them how much time they could be on their phone. It locks out the Safari or the internet access. And it also gives me an email weekly on the activity throughout that phone. So it's pretty impressive. There's a one-time fee. I can't remember the fee. I've had this app for a while now. So I truly monitor it. And if you do have an iPhone, you could have those text messages also sent to your phone as well. Okay? I know with Instagram, I have access to my children's accounts too. So I could go through each account as much as I want. So that's how I monitor my kids' accounts. When it comes to human trafficking and our kids, all this information is great because some of it we don't receive, right? And the big thing of say something, or you see something, you say something is huge for us. And since I've taken this position here in Laguna Niguel, I was very surprised that people are hesitant to call us. So I could tell you it's so important, so vital for parents just to call, or students or whoever, and let us sort it out. If you don't know if it's an emergency or not, call 911. Guess what? That 911 number and our non-emergency number go to the same person, and they prioritize the importance of that call. Okay, so if you're confused, like, should I call or not? Just call. I promise you, we'll figure it out. Okay, so I'm gonna have my investigator, as you could tell, his background's pretty diverse as well. He's worked our threat assessment, all that stuff. So I want him, we're gonna power through this PowerPoint, and it is explicit and graphic in some areas. Okay, and we try to minimize a lot of that, so we actually had to take some slides out. But if you feel that maybe it's too much, please raise your hand and we'll go right to the next slide. Okay, I just don't want anyone offended because some of the content may be a little too much for some individuals, and that's fine. We could go through it and we still could explain the slides. So I'll hand it over to my investigator.
All right, thanks, Chief. I'm also not a microphone speaker, so if it's too loud, too quiet, or anything, let me know, and I'll adjust to that. Part of the presentation, like Chief, I have kids also, so when I'm talking to you with this badge on my belt as a law enforcement officer, and I'm also talking to you as a parent. Anything I'm saying is looking out for the greater good for all of our kids. So what we're going to kind of go over, you're going to see some similarities in our PowerPoint and the PowerPoint that the ladies presented, and it's going to be pretty clear what the main indicators are. Is going to be social media. Social media wasn't really around when we were kids. I had MySpace in college, and the thing with MySpace was how many followers or how many likes, I think. So you did stuff to get likes at that time, and now it's changed. It's a different ball game, and we're fighting an uphill battle to kind of keep up with all these apps that come out, kind of on a weekly basis. So big thing I'm going to try and hit on. Our PowerPoint is a little bit of everything that we do. I'm going to try and really hit on what to look for a little bit on our end, and then how to report it. Because this is being filmed, I'm not going to talk much about our investigative techniques, because for every good person that watches it, there's going to be a bad person that watches it too. And I don't want them to know some of the stuff that we do in order to catch these people that need to be caught. We have a human trafficking task force team within the Orange County Sheriff's Department. The next slide, I think, goes into that. It is basically to ensure the victims are identified, supported, and the perpetrators are held accountable. So this will go into a little bit more of what we look at as far as what used to be considered a suspect is now kind of looked at as a victim a lot of times because these people are doing stuff kind of against their own will. So this is what the detail's made up of. I am not part of this detail. I work for the City of Laguna Niguel in general investigations, so I handle a little bit of everything. These details are specific just to the human trafficking. One thing that should stand out on this, we have 4 investigators and 1 sergeant and 5 deputy DAs assigned to it. 5 DAs for one area is huge. I wish I had 5 DAs that I could work with. They have 5 within our court system just for this. So that kind of tells you how serious Orange County takes this. What they handle, human exploitation, trafficking. You always hear pimping and pandering together. In the next couple slides, I'll go into what those are and how they relate to each other. And labor trafficking. And then just what they do, basically we'll get some information, whether it's on an information report, what is referred to as a SAR, or suspicious activity report, investigate it, and if possible, file cases. Kind of difference here, we hear a lot of trafficking is the kind of the catchphrase, human trafficking, human trafficking. Traffic to me sounds like, well, not in Orange County, but it sounds like something that's moving. It's not the 405 at 6 o'clock, but traffic sounds like something that moves from one place to another. That's actually going to be smuggling. Smuggling is taking people across state borders, country borders, whatever that may be. That could be labor trafficking, sex trafficking, the combination of the two. I'll kind of talk about how that can lead into one another. Human trafficking, we have a definition right up here. It's deprivation of the liberty in order to cause someone to engage in commercial sex act with the intent to commit pimping or pandering. So human trafficking is not moving one place to another. Human trafficking is making a person do something against their will through force, fear, addiction to drugs, anything like that. Where smuggling is going to be getting that person to that place. Sometimes they combine, sometimes human trafficking can start in Laguna Niguel and only occur in Laguna Niguel. Pimping, how I said, you'll hear pimping and pandering together. This is getting money for putting somebody to work. Pimping is often, tied to pandering, and pandering is going to be the person who puts someone to work. We all hear, the generic street corner, put someone to work on a street corner. That's going to be pandering. Pimping is going to be collecting the money at the end of the night. A lot of times, they're going to go hand in hand, which works out well for law enforcement because they're both felonies and they both carry extensive sentences along with them. Some of the numbers, pretty astounding. When I actually got this PowerPoint from the Human Trafficking Task Force, and when I looked at it, I was very surprised because what I had pictured was a lot of people being brought in from outside the country, being put to work in massage parlors, hotels, stuff like that. And this one got me at the bottom, was 72% are US born, and the average age, 12 to 14 years old. I was blown away at that. My son's 11 years old. I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and the worst thing he does is he plays Fortnite too long. And then I'm looking at people, a year older than him, could be used for human trafficking. And a lot of it goes along with what the ladies were talking about. At that age, all they want to do is be cool. Girls, guys, all they want to do is be cool. So I'm not familiar with a lot of the apps that are used right now, other than how I work them on the law enforcement end. But most of the apps are going to be, how do I get more friends? How do I get more people to like me? How do I filter my pictures in order to look older or skinnier or stuff like that? And the bad guys know that, and they just play right into it. I'm not going to read all these numbers out because that would be really boring for all of us to listen to. But you can look at the numbers of the sex trafficking. This is 2019 and 2020 with that task force that we have. Overwhelming female, also males, a small percent there. But what kind of struck me on this one is the female adults. Our big fear, anyone with kids, anyone without kids, anyone who's ever seen a kid, our big fear is to save the kids, right? They're the most vulnerable part. We need to do everything we can for them. Less than half of the people trafficked were minors. And you saw the numbers on the other slide. That just kind of tells you how much this is going on in the, this is in Orange County. I'm not going to go into too much as far as the type of people who are trafficked, but the bottom part there, you can see it's kind of broken down by race. And you know, what's often thought of as massage parlors. You can see here 17 of the stats they had were Asian. So it's not what a lot of people are commonly thinking of. It's going to be more of the people who are right in front of us that we don't necessarily see every day. Some of the money, $32 billion a year. I don't know how they come up with that count because it's going to be hard to kind of try to see who is actually getting paid, but that's an astounding number right there. I deal in high dollar thefts, and I could add up my whole career and it wouldn't even be close to that. Some of the terminology, I'm not going to go into all this because some of it's a little bit, maybe not age appropriate. The far right column though, I want everyone to kind of look at that because if you are parents and you're seeing any of these terms on your kids' phones or you hear them talking about stuff, it's like, oh, blah, 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 you know, they do a GFE. If anyone wants to talk afterwards, I'll explain what some of this stuff is. But some of the things you're really going to hear are going to be like in-call, out-call. Does someone provide a service in their house, or do they go to somebody's house to provide that service? Donations, roses, diamonds. No one's going to say it costs $200. They're going to say it'll be 200 roses. That's going to be 200 diamonds. That should stand out to any parent if they you know, hear stuff like that. Some of the myth versus reality. Myth, they like to do it. They're a bunch of drugged out junkies. You know, they get to keep all their money, so they're making bank on all this stuff. Reality is they don't keep any of the money. A lot of times they get a small percentage of the money they make, and their pimp is going to keep most of their money. A lot of them do it just out of straight fear. If you're looking at the female end, let's say an 18-year-old female who gets into this, whether it's through she wants money or gets tricked into it or however, one of the biggest fears I've heard is they don't want their family to find out. Family will disown them. Grandma's old on her deathbed. Grandma won't talk to her anymore. Stuff like that. They're not necessarily a fear of getting attacked sometimes, but it's the fear of the stigma that's going to be their friends at school, their family, whatever that may be. A lot of times, drugs are not the primary motivator. They can be just straight up fear. Sometimes when people get into this lifestyle, they get beat pretty bad by either one of the other girls or the person who collects their money. So after that, it's kind of, hey, do this or you'll get another one. Next one's going to be worse. So sometimes for them, it's easier just go do what's asked of them rather than you know, be subjected to violence. This was a video due to time constraints and kind of the audio. Me and the chief decided not to play it, but it's somebody talking about how she got into it and kind of part of her her life and her routine. But we had both agreed that it's probably not good for tonight. Some of the vulnerability factors, they touched on this earlier, pretty common themes. A lot is mental health. A lot is, you know, kind of wanting the attention up front. I've been to a couple human trafficking classes that are 8 hours long. I got about 15, 20 minutes, so I'm trying to squeeze a lot of that in here. But some of the classes I've been to, one in particular said a lot of the high school girls get recruited by a friend. And the friend knows a guy, maybe it's older brother's friend or something like that, who says, hey, if you come to this party with me, you're going to make $200. You just have to, you know, flirt with some guys who don't even do anything. She gets $200, which when I was 18 was a lot of money. Next party might be, hey, you get $500, but now you got to go, you know, whatever it may be, and it's a slippery slope. And that can turn into, hey, now you work for me. I'm going to tell your mom that you're doing this. So don't tell my mom. Okay, come to this other party with me. And they get tricked into that. And down the road, you know, it's a very, very slippery slope. The history of trauma, parents not being involved, just wanting attention from somebody, and then the money on top of it can also be enticing to some young people. Rules of the game, not going to go over a lot of this. It's everyone in here probably knows a lot of it, but they don't have freedom. They're not allowed to leave. They're not allowed to you know, do anything they want. They'll refer to their pimp by certain names. They might have a tattoo of that person's name somewhere on their body for all to see. It might be on their. I've seen it on foreheads. I've seen it on cheeks. Property of so and so. It's incredibly sad to see. And then the repercussions at the bottom down there could be made anything. I've never heard the sleep in wet clothes, but that might be something that's going on now. The branding and the tattoos are definitely a thing. So as parents, if you see, daughters there with their friends, they're out at the pool, you see cigarette burns or something that looks like cigarette burns on the back, maybe you don't need to confront them. You don't need to say, hey, are you okay? That's something that you can report to us. We can take a look at it. We can use our means to see who is this person, who do they hang out with, talk to their family if their behavior's changed. What are they doing on the weekends? You don't know? Okay, let's explore that. So something as simple as seeing some, obviously if someone's cutting themselves and hurting themselves, we want to know about it anyways because we like to help them. But keep in mind some of this. If you see like a new tattoo and you're like, who the heck is King J or whatever, you can feel free to let us know. Like Chief was saying, you can't over-report this stuff. They're our kids, so we would like to keep them safe however possible. The paradigm shift, not going to talk about this a whole lot, but if you picture like a prostitute, they become a suspect. It's a misdemeanor in California. California Penal Code 647 Bravo is a misdemeanor for prostitution. When we start looking at it, if they're a prostitute because they just want their own money, that's illegal. If they're a prostitute because they were brought in here from Nevada when they were 14, now they're 18, now they stay in a hotel with 6 other girls, that's when our human trafficking task force is really going to start to take a look at this stuff. At which point they become the victim, at which point we try to get whatever resources we can to get them back on track. This is about my favorite slide on here because it shows all the sentencing these people get. California doesn't always penalize people as much as I would like them to, but this one they take extremely serious. And every count that happens, so let's say a pimp has, I don't know, 6 girls working for him, and one's underage, and she was made to do that through violence. That's up to life in state prison. So when these guys get hit with, hey, you have 18 counts of something that carries 3 years, but you have a prior, let's make that 6 years per count. These dudes never leave prison, and they get whatever's coming to them in there. Recruitment, they talked about this a lot. I could talk for 4 hours about social media and how it's kind of the devil as far as all this stuff's concerned. Other stuff, schools, kind of like the thing I was just talking about in high school with a group of girls. One gets into it a little bit. Group homes, just because they have a lot of stuff going for them or going against them already, they're a little more vulnerable. If you ever hear something about the track or the blade, that's an area where prostitution occurs. So, hey, we're going to go hang out at the blade tonight. That should be a huge red flag that we would like to know about. I didn't know those until, honestly, I got this PowerPoint, and I have kids, and I've been a cop for 10 years, so if my kids were talking about the blade, I'd be worried they stole my knife or something. They kind of talked about this too, the types of pimps. What you're probably going to see more likely in the setting with the high school and junior high is going to be the Romeo. It's going to be someone who's a little bit older that the girls might kind of look up to a little bit, going to smooth talk them, maybe, okay, now we're dating. Oh, go out and do this. It's for us. It's so we can build a family. It's so I can buy you a ring. I love you. Blah, blah, blah. And that's how a lot of them get into it. The violent pimps are going to be more what you're going to see when in areas where they're working street corners. There's going to be a huge difference kind of depending on where you're at. Identifiers, there's all kinds of stuff. The big one is going to be the tattoos, the brands, burn marks, anything like that. I left this one up there because in the middle you can see how he has King tattooed up there. It's probably kind of hard to see, but working the jails, I've seen people where it says like property of King, and it's going to be kind of that same thing. So that's a huge, huge indicator. Some of the apps to look up or look out for. You're in high school, you probably recognize every single one of these. I had to look a couple of them up. Facebook and Instagram, everyone knows those what they are. I have Facebook, I have Instagram. I don't use it for nefarious purposes. The one in the bottom middle down there, just to the left, is Discord. I've only heard of Discord because my son plays Fortnite and he wanted to get on Discord because they talk about strategy and what guns have a better kill ratio or some nonsense. Then I looked into Discord a little bit more. Discord is like a community chat room. Who goes on community chat rooms about video games? Little kids. Who's vulnerable? Oh, where do you live? Oh, I play Fortnite too. It was kind of eye-opening. It's like these are a bunch of dorks talking about Fortnite, but it's also used by people to traffic. TikTok, Snapchat is be very careful if your kids do have Snapchat, especially at a young age, because a lot of pictures can be exchanged, a lot of messages can be exchanged, and they're extremely hard to get back. For us to get them back as part of an investigation, we need a search warrant. There's no magic button we can hit on the phone to get it. So as parents, it's very easy to be, oh, delete, and it's gone. Mom's not going to find it. So if they have that, just kind of keep your guard on it as far as that goes. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube could be something. If your kids are commenting on YouTube videos, that's another way to get the in with them. You name it, I could have 3 slides just of apps up there. A lot of the communication stuff that, WhatsApp, stuff like that, text now, text me, Google Voice, they can sign up and unsign up for it within about 10 minutes and send messages and receive messages. Emojis, I don't use these. I hate emojis. Whenever I send a text and it has an emoji, people know that I hit the wrong button. I always apologize. I'm like, disregard whatever that picture I just sent you. That was a slip of the finger. The diamonds, the roses, the money, I just left that up there. If you happen to, if you have an app like the Chief has where you're getting your kids' text messages and you see something like, hey, you want to make some diamonds, that's prostitution money. Roses is prostitution money. So just kind of something to be on the lookout for. Some of the social media, one of the terms on the other thing was 304. If you spell that backwards phonetically on a phone, it's a derogatory name for a girl that's in this business. I want to talk very quickly about this one. So, I can read a PowerPoint for hours. Anybody can. Before I joined Patrol, I worked as part of a group of individuals with Orange County where we worked with different detectives from all over the county. And at one point, we got a picture from a concerned citizen in Laguna Beach. And the picture was a girl who looked to be about 14 to 16, sitting next to a male who looked to be about 60. And the best I can describe it is the girl was giving a look to whoever took the picture of, please come help me. I need your help, please come help me. The citizen, I thought, did a really good job and at least took a picture. Saw where they went and took a picture of the car. It got sent to us. It was a stolen car out of, I think, Georgia. So our guard's up. So the handling agency, they're looking into it. They sent it to us. I think we had 8 people in my division, 2 of us for about a week. Scrubbed the internet, got a picture of the girl, looked at missing persons databases, thought, okay, it might be this person. No, it's not her. Okay, it might be this one. Let's put this aside. We work long hours. I took my computer home and I didn't go to bed till probably 10, 11 o'clock at night, scrubbing the database just to find out who is this person. I was convinced it was Lindsay Baum at the time. It turns out it wasn't. But I just put this up here. These are the circs of how she went missing. A couple blocks from her house, walking home. She had gone over to see if she could spend the night at her friend's house. Friend's mom said no. Let her walk home at 9:15, and she's kidnapped. And what guilt she's going to feel, obviously, for the rest of her life. But just so you can see how serious we take this stuff, that was my life for about a week. They ended up stopping the car, and it wasn't Lindsay. It was actually just family, just weird-looking people, I guess. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't in any distress. She just gave that look. So a concerned citizen did that, sent to them, sent to us. We took it home. We were on our laptops, 10 hours a day afterwards. I was so involved in this case that when I found out Lindsay died, it kind of hit me. It was like, I didn't even know Lindsay. I didn't even work a case with Lindsay, but I felt so attached to her that it kind of hit me. I have another slide on here I'm not really going to show, but in it, there's some verbiage from some communication that some people had about getting her in the game. She's not addicted to drugs. She's basically through fear. So we got some of that info as part of the side investigation, and it was people communicating about her and getting her in the game. And they didn't have her addicted to drugs, because people who are addicted to drugs, we've all seen them. They're not good-looking people, for lack of a better term. So they'll use fear in order to keep them kind of obedient. So big takeaway as far as our weekend go, I'm going to wrap it up because I think I'm running over a little bit. What Chief had said, see something, say something. We get calls every once in a while like, hey, my neighbor's sprinklers go on at 3 in the morning. It really bugs me. My neighbor moved my trash cans. My kid called me a bad word. Okay, call police if you must. But when people, I know stuff's going on with concern for the kids, and people don't want to maybe be the whistleblower. They don't want to get the kid in trouble. Call us, let us know. Let us do our job. We're very passionate about it. We want to protect the kids. If you don't want us to come to your house, you can come to City Hall and report it to City Hall, normal business hours. That way no one knows you're the one reporting it. We can send it to CPS, and CPS can join us with the human trafficking, and we can do what we do. So once it goes on from there, like I said, I'm not going to talk about our investigative techniques a lot because I don't really give away trade secrets. But if you do see anything, say something to us, let us know. Let us kind of forward it to the appropriate parties, and we'll see what we can do there. These are, if anyone wants to get these are the people who actually work in that detail. I have some business cards of mine. I can give those out if anyone wants them as well. And big thing, if you give something to us, if you give me a report and it's not mine, it's going to make its way to these people. It's going to make its way to the FBI if it's across state lines. It's going to make its way to the right people. So just the big thing is just getting us that information, however it may be. And that's going to be a wrap. Like I said, I'll stick around if anyone has any questions as far as some of the other stuff goes. Kind of sped through this, so please let me know if you have other questions. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And if you have questions, hold up your card, and the members of the Women's Club will pick it up. I'll start off with the question. When you refer to the vocabulary, the blade or the track, is that a specific location, or does that just mean a general area where it may be different area?
That would be more of a specific area. I don't want to dime off other areas in the county, but it might be a certain street where the track might be blank boulevard, something like that.
Thank you. And then Captain Asuncion. So 911 is the number you call if you think that you suspect anything going on.
Absolutely.
Okay. So everyone here knows how to dial 911. You are all empowered to do something. You don't need to worry about, is it the right thing to do or what? They will figure it out. We have law enforcement professionals that know how to figure this stuff out. But we are the eyes and ears in the community to dial 911. And hopefully, we're now educated with what's going on in the school district and how they're teaching our children and taking care of the whole child, the complete child, so that they don't become a victim. So do we have we have a question card. Okay. Thank you. Can families participating in private or charter home schools utilize CUSD futurology services?
So it is obviously for Capistrano Unified School District employees, students, but I'm sure we would be able to facilitate and make sure that we are helping anybody in our community in regards to resources related to college and career. But technically, futurology is for CUSD students and families.
So this question is the city involved in training the hospitality industry or on identifying human trafficking?
I'm guessing that's about the hotels, for whoever asked, yeah. We have one hotel in the city of Laguna Niguel. I can say we're pretty active there, knowing who's there and who's staying there and everything. Are they trained? I haven't done any personal training with them. I can't let you know we spend a good amount of our patrol shifts down there, though, monitoring the activity. So, if that helps.
Thank you. If someone is being human trafficked and scared and sees this video, what can they do? Chief, I'll give that one to you. I know the answer.
So if they see the video, what can they do? Is that the question?
If someone's being trafficked and they're scared.
Contact us. Call 911. or if you have a friend, and maybe tell them so they could tell us. Any way you could get the message to us, and I promise you that we will react very quickly.
Thank you. Are there any more yellow cards? Okay, one more. Okay. On Facebook, I've seen a video showing a hand signal by a victim. Is that recognized in this area? And actually, someone showed that to us at the Women's Club meeting, the Laguna Niguel Women's Club meeting the other night, and it was your thumb in and your fingers down. Is that recognized? So we all know what that means in this area? That means that it's a child who needs help. They're not talking, they're not trying to draw attention, but they're trying to signal you that they need help. Okay, did everyone get that? Thumb in, fingers down. Hopefully we don't see it, but if we do, we'll recognize it. Call 911 right away, but I'd also say kind of see where that child is going. Okay, one more. Wow, okay. Keep thinking of more and more questions. Okay. What was the app to monitor kids? Kid locks.
That's what I use, but there's other ones out there.
Okay. And you did not mention that the parent should know who their child's friends are. Yes. Yes, know who your child's friends are. And sometimes, you know, my children are grown, but I know when they were younger, sometimes, and again, it was the MySpace? I would monitor my child's friends' MySpace because I wanted to be sure those children were safe as well, and the parent may not be checking in. I'd say, okay, tell so-and-so, that's not appropriate. I'm calling their mom if it's not down in 10 minutes. Okay. And educate your child of exchanging dialogue with a stranger. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like, sometimes even in a mall, when my daughter was small, a stranger came up to us and said that you look really nice and that you have potential to be in commercials or a TV.
Mm-hmm.
So the child's got to be aware of dialogue and exchanging information with an adult.
Yeah, and that's all of the personal safety that we teach our children in the homes and in school too. And that's also even as adults, as teenagers, that's you know, need to be careful with that those exchanges where it's someone trying to befriend you that they may not really be wanting to be your friend. Yes?
I'm sorry, but also too, when we lived in the valley a long time ago, we found kids would be congregating in malls without parents, you know, just hanging around. And you should try to, it's difficult, but you should try to keep a leash on your kids and trying to tell them as to a certain time to go to the mall and how do they get to the mall? Walking or getting rides. It's difficult because the valley is different than Orange County. In Orange County, the income levels are higher, and we got more. We've got disposable income, and that you're choosing my words, and that the mindset is different. The parents are more educated. So as a parent, you got to be worried about the kids as to who they hang around with.
Well, yes, you should always know who your children are with, and those are rules and protocols that are set in the home, and that's why it's so important that parents have those conversations with their children. So I think, do we have any final comments from our guest speakers? Okay, well, you were so good, so thorough, so much information. You gave all of us a lot to think about and a lot to share. So what you heard tonight, don't just keep it in this room. Don't just keep it in your own mind and in your own home. Share it with your neighbors. Share it with your friends. So we want this information to ripple out in the community for the safety of our own community. So let's show our speakers how much we appreciate them being here tonight. And thank you so much for attending. Thank you.